Hi, morning everyone. Hello, welcome to the Knitting Expat Podcast. This is episode 15, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new, thank you for checking me out and giving me a go. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. It's great to have you. As you can probably tell, I'm not in my usual setup. I'm actually in Saudi Arabia at the moment. Which I'll talk more about later, but I'm over here at the moment to sort out my residency visa and a whole host of other things. But yeah, more about that in the weekly week in review, weekly roundup type thing. First of all, just wanted to start by saying a few thank yous. Thank you to Cody of the Cody Knits podcast. I recently started watching this podcast and I realised he'd mentioned me in his last episode, so thank you so much. That was so sweet of you and you had such lovely things to say. And I have to say I really like watching your podcast. It's really quite refreshing. It's quite nice to hear from guys who knit as well, so I always try to watch the male knitting podcasts as well. So and thank you so much, Cody, for ordering one of my bags. It was so sweet. I saw your name pop up and I was like, oh. And and also thank you to everyone who's ordered a bag so far. I was overwhelmed by the reaction to my Etsy shop going up, and honestly, it was amazing. It was so much support in the run up to it, and now that it's opened, it's just been incredible. It's been such a fun experience, and I'm already planning like the next few bags to go into the shop and stuff. But again, more about that later. Just to let you all know that anyone who has ordered a bag from me so far, all those bags have already been posted. I posted the majority out on Thursday and then I posted another one out on Saturday morning. So you should also be starting to receive those soon, hopefully. I sent out some bags on Tuesday last week to Nathan of the Socrates Podcast, and he received his by Thursday evening. So international postage is pretty quick. Well, judging by that, it took 3 days to get to him. So hopefully some of you will start receiving your bags soon. I know for the US, I've sent bags to the US before and they've taken around 6 to 7 days to get there. And to the UK, I imagine it's about 3 days, because I've had packages from the UK arrive in about 3 to 5 days. And so there's that. I sent all packages out via recorded delivery. But even though that comes with a tracking number, the post office say that the tracking number is only good whilst the package is in Bahrain. So there's no guarantee that that tracking number will work once the package actually leaves Bahrain. So, but hopefully the bags will all get to you. I've never had any trouble so far with a package not being received by the intended recipient. So hopefully it will all get there okay. I'd love to see you guys with your bags once they get there. So feel free to tag me on Instagram if you do post a picture. And on that note, I've actually put my Etsy shop on vacation mode whilst I'm in Saudi Arabia, because I didn't want people to order bags and then have to wait a week for me to then be able to post it. I don't really think that was fair. So I've put the shop on vacation mode for now, and it will hopefully be back up again in a few days once I'm back in Bahrain. So this week I'm going to cover FOs, works in progress, a little bit of news about project bags, a quick knit along update on the Sunrise Shawl pattern, week in review, and some questions and answers. Sorry, I had a shower this morning and my hair is misbehaving. Like, there's one little bit of hair refuses to stay back and it just keeps popping forward. So if I'm fiddling with my hair a bit this episode, I apologise in advance. I'm trying to twist that back out of the way. This is so frustrating. Anyone else who has misbehaving curly hair will know what I'm going through. Right, so let's start with FOs. I have 2 FOs for you this week. First up is my Maska Shawl, which is by Justina Lorkowska. And this has actually turned out ridiculously huge. And you know, I went down a needle size to 4mm needles rather than 4.5, as was recommended in the pattern, because I was worried about this getting big. Now the pattern says that this will block out to 2.5 meters long along the top edge. Now I don't think mine is quite as deep as the pattern, because I couldn't stretch it out properly without blocking wires, and it would have come out all pointy and weird. It would have come out all pointy and weird otherwise. So I didn't really stretch out the bottom edge too much. But this is 2.6 meters long. That's after having gone down a needle size. So I can't imagine how much longer it would have been if I'd actually used the 4.5mm needles. I really like this. It's given a good sort of thickness fabric. As you can see, you can't really see through it too much, which is good. It means it'll be nice and warm. And I haven't overly stretched out the garter stitch, so it's still nice and squishy, and it's really soft. And I think my sister-in-law would love it, because it's now more like a really long sort of shawl scarf, which I think will be perfect. And so that was knit out of Cascade Heritage Sock in pink, purple and grey. Cascade don't really have colorway names, it's just numbers, and I don't have the tags with me to tell you what those numbers are, so I'm sorry about that. And the next FO I have is the one that I'm wearing, and this is the Socrates Shawl, and this one is new. You guys hadn't seen this last week, and this is designed by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears podcast. I'll bring it up close so you can see the texture. And this pattern's actually now released. I did this as a test knit for her and for Kay. And yeah, I really like how it turned out. It uses one ball of self-striping commercial sock yarn. So the one that I used is Lana Grossa from the India range. I can't remember which exact colorway it is. I didn't bring the tag with me. I finished this on Saturday evening, so I blocked it Saturday evening. It was dry by Sunday morning, so I grabbed it with me to bring to Saudi Arabia to show you on the podcast. And I did the edging. I asked on Instagram what colour I should do the edging, and I went with this green in the end. I was thinking about doing either an orange or a yellow. The yellow wasn't quite the right colour, and then I thought with the orange was going to be, I thought the shawl itself, like the colours in the main part of the shawl, was busy enough that I wanted something that wasn't going to be too out there. I kind of wanted something a little bit more subtle on the border, just to tie everything in together nicely, and I think the green worked better than the orange for that. And so that's what I went with. And the green is Sockies in the colour green apple. So that's it for FOs. Then for works in progress, I have my Persistence is Key cardigan. I'm actually halfway through something on this one. This one has seen some progress this last week. Actually, most of the progress was yesterday. It's all scratched up at the moment, but I did do the button bands on both sides, which just will block out mostly. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put a zipper. So I haven't done any buttonholes. I decided for this cardigan I'm going to try the zipper, because I've been wanting to try putting a zipper on my knits for a while now, and I figure why not. I'm not overly precious about this cardigan, so it would be a good tester one. And I've started the sleeve on, this is the left sleeve. So I've started the left sleeve, and yeah, so I'm hoping that this will be a finished object by next week. When I say finished object, I mean I want it to be off the needles. I'm not expecting to have the zipper sewn on, because I still have to find a zipper. I've been looking for a zipper the last 2-3 times I've gone to the fabric market, and I've not found anything in the right colour that's sort of long enough for the cardigan. So I'm still on the lookout for a zipper. I'm not entirely sure how long that will take, but in my mind, once the cardigan's off the needles and blocked, it's finished, because it's technically wearable as a cardigan, it just doesn't close. So I'm hoping that'll be finished by next week. Fingers crossed. Then I have my Rock Island shawl, which I haven't done any work on actually, so I'm not even going to bother showing that to you. That's the same as it was last week. I'm still halfway through the border strip. I had wanted to get more work done on that this week, but just with other things. And then this cropped up. I hadn't expected to knit this, but when I saw it on the Bakery Bears podcast last week, I was like, ooh, that'd be fun. And it was fun, and it was quick, but it just means I didn't work on the rock island. Next project I'm working on is a pair of socks, and this is in my this is actually one of my oddly sized project bags that I was going to put up in the shop, but I decided not to. There's actually 2 of my project bags that didn't go in the shop because they weren't quite right. This fabric, these roses, along with the bags that I called Blooming Fields, I think on Etsy, Blooming Fields, the one with really small sort of like flowery print all over it. These two floral fabrics were actually the first fabrics I bought after I got my sewing machine. So I think it's quite nice to keep them. Yeah, so this is housing a pair of socks. It's perfect size for socks, this bag. I've got 2. I think you all know I knit my socks 2 at a time. And this is Crazy Zalba ball. If I can find it. It's Crazy Zalba ball in this sort of, not sure how well you'll be able to see that. Sort of like a red, blue, grey kind of colourway. Might be easier if I just show you the yarn. There we go. Get a better idea of that there. And I love the barber poling sort of look of the Crazy Zalba ball. And these socks, hopefully, will be for my dad, as long as he doesn't mind that they're not perfectly matching. My dad can be a little bit fussy with his clothes, but he seems to really like the stuff that I've knit for him so far, so I'm hoping he'll like this. Yeah, so that's that. I started these yesterday, so they're coming along well. I did 20 rows of a 1x1 rib. Sorry, the lighting in here is a bit terrible. I've turned the lights off in the room and opened all the curtains because yeah, didn't like the way that it was weird shadows and the lighting was all funny. But yeah, so I did 20 rows of a 1x1 twisted rib. I really like the look of a twisted rib, but geez, it's really slow. It is so much slower than a normal rib, for me anyway. I find it takes a little bit more concentration on the knit stitches. But I really like the effect, so there we go. And then I've just started on the stockinette section. And yeah, so that's that. And my last work in progress is my sock scrap blanket, or my Cozy Memories blanket, which I've switched now. I'm storing it in my tote bag because I figure this is my my scrap tote bag for my scrap blanket. Kind of thought that worked. I've done a bit of work on this one, actually quite a bit of work on this one this last week. I've added 6 squares to it. So the first 3 that I added were these 3, which are from leftovers from the Maska Shawl. So the grey, the pink and the purple, the Cascade Heritage sock. Then this is the orange, which I use for heels and toes with this for the pair of socks that I made whilst I was in Dubai. And this, whilst technically not fingering weight, it's sport weight Regia tweed, which I used to make Perry's rice socks. I really wanted to include this one because it's the first pair of socks I made for Perry. So this square's come out quite a bit bigger, but I'm sure once I add more squares to it, it will sort of even out a bit. So I'm not so worried. And this last one is from the leftovers of my Socrates Shawl. So those are those. I haven't woven the ends on that one. What I do is I knit the 5 squares and then I weave in the ends and move on to the next row. It keeps everything nice and neat. So that's that. I probably won't show this every week because it might get boring after a while. But that's that for my works in progress. Can't believe it. 15 minutes in and I'm pretty much done with the knitting. Next thing I wanted to talk about was my project bags for Mina Makes. So like I mentioned earlier, a lot of them are sold now. I've probably sold about 2/3 of the bags. There's about 11 left. I still have some in each size. I'm going to be doing some more. I kind of went through my fabric stash just before we left, and I have a bunch of fabrics that are already cut out, like the same fabrics that I've used in the shop launch. I had a bunch of the leftover of that fabric that was already cut up for different size bags. So I'm going through those, and I'm going through some of the new fabrics that I got from London. I'm sort of figuring out which bags I want to do next, and I need to go out and get more zips and more sort of lining fabrics and some other bits and pieces. So I think once I get back, I'm going to make a trip up to the fabric market and grab some bits and pieces, and then hopefully be able to get some more bags out to you guys soon. Probably looking at towards the end of June, beginning of July for the next update. I have a few bags that I am doing for swaps. I'm quite open to the idea of swapping, or trading, a bag for yarn or a bag for a bag or other things like that. So I got in touch, or rather Andy from Andre's Knits got in touch with me, and we're doing a trade. So I'm making her a sweater-sized project bag, and she's sending me, or she's actually already posted it, she's sending me some yarn that she dyed. So it's kind of like a trade of services, which I'm totally open to as well. So if you're like a yarn dyer or a bag maker and you'd like to do just trade or something, feel free to send me a message on Ravelry. I'd be more than interested to talk to you about maybe doing something like that. I'm also open to taking custom orders. So if you've seen a bag that I've put on sale that's gone, that you missed, please send me a message. I might still have some more of that fabric to be able to make you a custom order. I'm more than happy to take custom orders, because it does make things a bit easier for me knowing I'm making a bag for someone that already wants it. For example, I think it was Melinda from the Yarn the Woman podcast got in touch saying that she was sorry that she'd missed these bags, the bags with the rose fabric, and I let her know that I still have some of that rose fabric left. So I'm gonna get in touch with her once I'm back to let her know what sizes I have available, and I'll do her a custom bag. So feel free to let me know if there is a bag that you'd like, or a fabric that you'd like, but you missed the bag update. Then I might be able to do a custom order on that one. I'm also thinking of doing some patchwork bags, but those will probably be one of a kind updates. I will sort of announce it on Instagram and on the podcast where I can, when those will be going up, and I'll show them beforehand, hopefully before I put up the updates. But I'm not entirely sure how many I'll do. Each one will probably be one of a kind. I probably won't do repeats. And I haven't quite decided on what I'm doing yet, but like I said, more about that as and when I sort of cement the ideas on that one. The patchwork bags, like I said, they're gonna be one of a kind. If there is two, it'll probably be because I'm keeping one for myself. But I'll only ever put one, maybe two up for sale at a time. They will be more expensive because they are much more labor intensive to make patchwork bags. They take a lot more time, easily 2 to 3 times as long as a regular bag. So like I said, they won't be that often, but I've had a few people show interest in patchwork bags that I've made so far, so I think that's what I'm going to do with that. That pretty much covers it for project bags and the kind of thing I might want to do going forward with those. Let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions. It'd be interesting to hear what you guys think as well. A bit of a Cowl update, knit long update on the Sunrays Shawl. There's been quite a bit of chatter on the chatter thread now, and that's really great to see. People posting their yarn choices, and some people have really started their shawls. I've got one person, Sophia from Sweden, who's knitting 2 shawls simultaneously with 2 different yarns, so that's really exciting to see, coming along nicely. So if you're planning on knitting the shawl, join the knit along. We have some lovely prizes. There's a skein of the Fiery Sunset colourway by the Yarn Tree, which is the one that I knit my shawl in, and it's the one in the pattern photos. The red, orange and yellow sparkle yarn. There is a skein of the Natural Dye Company, I think it's called. Natural Dye Company. Yeah. Natural Dye Company in the Peacock colourway. And there will be a project bag by me, which I haven't selected which bag yet, but it'll be one of those things that either you'll get to pick one from the shop, or we can do a custom one. So whoever gets chosen for that prize can basically pick from what I have on offer. So those are the prizes. And so at the moment, you've got a pretty good chance of winning something at the moment. So please come and join in the group, join in the knit along. All the information and details for the knit along are in the thread, the chatted thread on the group. You feel free to double dip into other knit alongs as well. I know there's a few others that you could dip into. There's the Around Your Neck knit along by Suburban Stitcher, Diane with Suburban Stitcher. There's the Opposites Cowl by Yarn Woman and Pink Hair Girl Knits, which is if you knit something designed by someone on the other side of the world. So pretty much any of you could knit this shawl and be considered on the other side of the world, because frankly most people are on the other side of the world from me at the moment. So that'd be a good one for you guys. Yeah, there's a few other ones floating around at the moment as well that you could probably dip into with the shawl pattern, so feel free. I'll be putting up the FO thread on the 1st of July, so just make sure if you do start the shawl, make sure you don't finish before the 1st of July. And then the knit along will run until the 23rd of August, and I will announce winners on the 24th of August podcast episode. We're going to be travelling at the beginning of September. We're going to New York for a week, 10 days. So the reason why I'm doing it on the 24th of August is so that I have enough time to actually post out the packages, assuming the winners get in touch with me before the end of August, and I can get everything posted out before we leave in September. That way you guys can get everything in a timely manner, I hope. And thank you to everyone who got in touch with me after the giveaway. All the winners got in touch with me after the last podcast, and you guys should all have your patterns now. And I hope you'll join in the knit along, because that'll be fun to see what you guys come up with. Right, that pretty much covers that. If you have any questions about the knit along or anything that I've talked about that I may have not gone into enough detail maybe, or you've got some questions about something, then please let me know. Sorry, I did actually have someone ask me, I'll go back to this really quickly, ask me what pattern I was using for my sock scrap blanket. I'm not really using a pattern per se. I looked at a bunch of patterns and I looked at a bunch of people's project pages, and I kind of made my own amalgamation, and I'm pretty sure other people have done this as well. I cast on 49 stitches, and then I do a central double decrease for my decreases. A lot of patterns have you do the knit two together on one side and then the SSK on the other side, but I like the look of a central double decrease, so that's what I've gone for. And then I purl the central double decrease on the wrong side, which makes it stand out nicely on the front. And I don't do any fancy slip stitches on the edges, I just knit all the edge stitches. I did try that on the first couple of squares, doing different versions of slip stitches, but it didn't make picking up the stitches any easier for me, so I just knit the edge stitches out. It's supposed to be easy, it's supposed to be fun, and I'm not overly fussed about it being perfectly neat as well. Like, it's a scrap blanket, it's not going to be entered to win any prizes or anything. It's fine, it's just for me. And I want it to be easy. I want it to be something I enjoy doing. I don't want to sit there stressing about trying to pick up the stitches. So I'm making it easy. Right, so week in review. So like I mentioned, I went down to the post office on Thursday last week with most of the orders to be posted out, and I felt so bad. There were so many orders that the guy at the post office was just like, okay, here we go. And processed each one. Because I was doing them by registered post, he has to manually input all the information, the address and my information for everyone. So I felt kind of bad about that, and I actually ended up using up all his stamps, so he had to go back and restock his stamps at one point. And it was just, thankfully though, he was really cheerful, really cheery, considering it was the first day of Ramadan as well. He was really happy. I mean, I say considering it was the first day of Ramadan, which it was, but usually when people are fasting, they can tend to be a little bit more irritable, not because they're fasting, just because they haven't eaten much. I know I get really irritable if I haven't eaten, so yeah, so the fact that he was still really jolly and really quite happy and chatty and stuff was really nice. And I really like going to that post office now. The people there know me. I've been there so many times. They recognise me, and I get along well with them. You know, as I said, they're perfectly chatty, and they just seem to be quite happy to do their job, which is really nice. I've had packages sent literally to all corners of the world right now. That in itself is pretty amazing for me. Packages have gone to the US, UK, France, Sweden, Australia and New Zealand, which is just insane. So yeah, still quite overwhelmed by all of that. Other things we've done this last week. It's not been a particularly exciting week, I have to say, but we went to see Jurassic World at the cinema last weekend, which was really nice. With it being Ramadan from Thursday, Perry actually finishes work a lot earlier than he normally does. So he got home and it was still light outside, which was lovely. I think I explained last week that the sunset and sunrise times don't really change much throughout the year. They only sort of fluctuate by about an hour or so throughout the year, because we're quite close to the equator and we don't do daylight savings here. So the clocks don't go back or anything. So yeah, the times don't change that much. Like sunset is around here is at 6:30 at the moment. So the fact that Perry got home before the sun had gone down was amazing. Yeah, so we decided to make the most of the situation and headed out to the cinema. And we got to the mall about 10 minutes before sunset. So all the restaurants and coffee shops and stuff were all preparing to open, but none of them were serving yet. And you could tell once the sun had set. Well, obviously you had the call to prayer, and then everywhere was free to start serving food. Yeah, I guess, what else was there? It's the other big thing from this week. Obviously I'm in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to come to that in a second. But I noticed there was a member of our group on Ravelry who started a thread, and you're more than welcome to start a thread on the group, obviously, who started a thread called Tea. And this was started by Bungalow 312, who's Kimberlyn from Michigan, and she was asking people to recommend teas. Basically, she says she's trying to get into tea a bit more, and so am I really. So I'm really grateful to everyone who has sent me tea and swap packages and stuff so far. So I get to try lots of different teas, and she was asking for people to recommend teas because she's trying to get more into it, and I think it's really fun. A fun idea to share your favourite teas and things that you like, and different brands and stuff, so others can get an idea of, you know, if they're trying to decide to try something new, and get some ideas from that. So if you have any recommendations for tea, feel free to jump into that thread and let us know, because that'll be lovely to hear from you. Yeah, right, so moving on to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so we decided at the end of last week that I should come to Saudi this week to try and sort out my visa, get that all done, get it all finalised, get my medical insurance sorted, which is something that's been really sort of nagging at me and Perry, to finally just get that all finished. So yeah, so we decided to come Sunday morning. I wasn't sure, because when I went to Dubai to get my entry permit, my permission to enter Saudi Arabia, they said I had to enter the country via one of the airports, that we couldn't just drive over the causeway. But Perry said that he knows other people who had done it by just driving over the causeway, and that we should at least give it a go. I was like, okay, well, so we packed up the car and we headed out Sunday morning, early enough that if they did turn us away and they wouldn't let me in, that we would have enough time to come back for him to drop me off at home, and then to actually still get to work on time. So that's what we did. Thankfully they let me through. It was fine. They just processed my information and my biometrics at the border, took my fingerprints, took a photo, and that was about it really. And then yeah, so that was really easy. We got into the country. I said the causeway is basically just a big bridge, There's a really long bridge with a couple of like islands along the way. What it really kind of reminded me of is if you've ever done the drive down from Miami to Florida Keys and you go over all the bridges and the different islands, it's a little bit like that, slightly less tropical, a little bit more deserty, but it's a bit like that really. It was quite a hazy morning. It was really windy in Saudi Arabia and kicked up a lot of sand and dust, but it wasn't an unpleasant drive. So we got to Saudi Arabia. We are in Al Khobar. So many different ways of pronouncing it. It's right on the other side of the causeway. It's in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia. It's where he works, it's where his company's based, and where we're staying. And it's really close to another place called Dammam. The two places basically border each other, they're so close. They're kind of like two small cities, towns. And so we had to go into his office first because we had to wait for someone to come in to give us certain paperwork so then I could go do my medical test. So that's when I actually started the socks that I worked on. I started knitting those socks while we were waiting at his office. It was nice actually to get to go see his office and actually finally see these places that he's been to and been working in for so long, and I've never really had a chance to go. And then when I did my medical test, that all went fine. Then he dropped me off at the hotel. The company that he works for, they own a hotel as well, so we're staying there, and frankly it's a good thing that he works for this company because obviously he gets a discounted rate for the hotel, because otherwise there's no way we'd stay here. It's ridiculous. It's not a particularly lavish hotel, but it's the first 5-star hotel in Saudi Arabia. Or it was the first 5-star hotel in Saudi Arabia. It's quite an old hotel, so it's a little bit run down, a bit rough around the edges. It's not 5-star by any means in the same sense as you'd think 5-star, even in Dubai or Europe or anywhere else. It's not the same. Sorry. But it's not a bad hotel. It looks nice enough. It's, like I said, it's rough around the edges, but it'll do. And we've got a really nice room. It's nice and big. He requested one of the larger rooms, so I wouldn't go crazy, because I'm pretty much spending most of my time whilst we're in Saudi Arabia in this hotel room, because there's not much I can do without Perry while he's at work. So I spent most of yesterday here, and then last night we went out and sort of drove around for a little bit, popped into a couple of shops. We popped into one of the supermarkets to just pick up some water and other supplies that we didn't want to keep ordering from room service, because that just gets expensive so fast. And that was quite funny. That in itself was a bit of an experience, because Perry told me this before, but as we were in the supermarket, he kept checking his phone. And I was like, what are you checking? He's like, I'm checking the prayer times. Because in Saudi Arabia, during prayer time, everything shuts. Like, they'll kick you out the shop, shut the shop down for 15-20 minutes, and then they open back up again. So he was like, right, we've got 10 minutes to prayer time. We better hurry up. So we hurried up, bought what we were buying, mostly water, and and left. And then as you could tell, the prayer time was called, because you hear all the mosques and pretty much everywhere, and like does the call to prayer. All the big malls and stuff will put the call to prayer out over the speakers and stuff. We had that in Dubai, and we have it in Bahrain. Most of the places in the Middle East you'll hear the call to prayer if you're at one of the malls and stuff. But only in Saudi Arabia did they actually shut down the shops during prayer time and kick you out. So that was interesting. So Perry's actually, since the first time he came across it, he's actually downloaded the prayer time app onto his phone, so he can figure out when the prayer times are and basically plan around it if he needs to go to the shops. Anyway, that was just randomness there. As for my experience with the abaya, I have to say the actual abaya itself isn't all that bad. It's actually really comfortable. It's basically an oversized gown. It's very much like wearing a maxi dress. That's kind of what it feels like when I'm wearing one. It feels very much like wearing a maxi dress. It's really long, it's floor length, so it does touch the ground. And because I wear them with because I was wearing it with flip-flops yesterday, and because of the way the material is, it's quite a cool material to the touch. It's quite a silky sort of cool material. So as I'm walking along and it brushes over my feet, it's quite a cool, it's the actual material is cold against my feet. So it's actually really nice. It's really pleasant. It's like quite cooling on my feet as I'm walking along, and I was like, oh, this is nice. But the headscarf, the actual hijab, was a nightmare because it's so silky. The material is the material that's the nightmare. Wearing one isn't that bad. I'm used to wearing one every time I go to Iran, but the one that I've got, which matches my abaya, is really sort of silky material, and it slides right off my head. So I'm constantly faffing to put this thing on my head and keep it on my head, and it keeps flying off my head, and oh my god, I was just getting so frustrated with this. I'm just like, I am a no fuss person, and this is too much fuss for me. It's just incredibly fussy all the time. So there were times where I just didn't bother. I had it around my neck, and every now and again I'd put it up and then it'd slide down, and I'd be like, nah, whatever. For the most part, I do try to keep it on when we're out, but I know it's not 100% required all the time, and it's really the religious police who are a stickler for it. So I have it with me. If I manage to keep it on my head, I'll keep it on my head, but if it slides off, I'm not too worried about it either. No one, whenever I was out and about and I didn't have it on my head, no one looked at me funny, no one said anything, so I think I should be okay. So let's see how that goes. Today I am pretty much in the hotel all day again. We had breakfast this morning, then Perry went off to work, and I'm now filming. I'll probably edit this and try to upload it today. I think tonight we're going to go out, look around one of the malls, have some dinner at one of the malls maybe, and yeah, I think Perry's going to just take me out for a little bit, get me out of the hotel. Like I said, there's not really that much to do here, but it's nice to just drive around, see the place. It doesn't look any different than Bahrain really. It looks like pretty much any other Middle Eastern city I've been to. It reminds me a bit of Iran in places, a bit of Bahrain in other places. It's just, there's nothing particularly stand out about Khobar that, yeah. I actually filmed a little clip, a little 20 odd second clip out one of the windows just to show you what the view is from our hotel room. So I'll probably already put that in, or I'll probably put that in now. Okay, so that's basically what we see out of our hotel room. There's not actually all that, it's mostly just buildings and off in the distance. I'm not sure how well you'll see it in the clip, but you can see the waters of the Gulf, which is quite interesting actually, because the hotel that we're staying in used to be a beachside hotel, like it was on the water. So that's how much land reclamation they've done to actually build out the city. So yeah, there we go. So moving on to question and answers section. I haven't had any new questions this last week in the group. There was one question that came up a while ago, and I've been wanting to address it for a few weeks now, and I still haven't done everything I wanted to about it, but someone asked me about the fibre history in Bahrain, like if there is a fibre knitting, sort of crafting history in Bahrain. There is, but there isn't a knitting history. There is no real history of knitting or like crocheting in Bahrain, but there is for weaving and fabric making and other sorts of crafts that exists in Bahrain. And I've been doing a bit of research into that, and there is a handicraft centre quite close to where we are, and I think I may have mentioned this last week. I had planned to go this last week, but with Ramadan starting and then deciding to come to Saudi Arabia, it all kind of just sort of took a step down. It wasn't quite a priority. So I'm going to try and go there next week and see what that's all about, see if there's any information I can gather from there. So in the process of all this research, I found out a few other little facts about Bahrain that I thought you might find interesting. Way back when, in however many hundreds of years ago, Bahrain was actually the name used for the entire sort of south coastal region of the Middle East, of the Persian Gulf. So from Kuwait along the eastern province of Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, all that coastal region up to Oman and the Strait of Hormuz, that entire area used to be referred to, if you look at it on a map, you'll know what I mean. That entire area used to be referred to as Bahrain. At what point Bahrain just became the island versus this whole stretch of land, I'm not entirely sure, and I think there's a bit of dispute as to when that actually happened. And the name Bahrain comes from, it means, the root of the word means two seas, or like between two seas, which is interesting because I think that refers to the sea to the east and west of Bahrain. But again, there's a bit of dispute about what it actually means, or which seas it's actually referring to, rather. A couple of other little facts. Bahrain is quite a tiny island. The gross sort of area of Bahrain, I think, is around 770 square miles, maybe, or kilometers, square kilometers, I think. I'm not entirely sure. It's around that size, but it's equivalent to the size of Hamburg in Germany. So the entire island, the entire country, it's the same size as Hamburg. That gives you a slight idea as to how tiny this place is. And the population is less than 1.3 million people. I think it's around 1.26 as of the last census. And about half, exactly, pretty much half of that population are foreign expats, foreign nationals who are living in Bahrain. So yeah, quite tiny, quite small. In comparison, Dubai, the actual city of Dubai, has a population close to 3 million people. So we've gone from that. It's why we really like Bahrain, because it's so much quieter, so much less people, less busy, less traffic, and all round much nicer in that respect. The traffic in Dubai towards the end of our living there was getting pretty insane. So yeah, I mean, being in Saudi Arabia right now is very surreal for me. It's growing up. I've mentioned before that I love to travel, and traveling was always one of those things that I really wanted to do, and I still do. There's so many countries in this world that I want to visit that I just don't know when I'll ever get around to all of it. But you know, traveling's always been at the top of my list of priorities of things that I want to do in life. But at no point ever in my life was Saudi Arabia on that list. I just never thought I'd have a good enough reason for them to ever let me in the country, because I'm not a religious person. I've never thought I'm not likely to ever want to go to Mecca. Not that I don't think it'd be an interesting experience. It's just, it's really expensive, and it's not something that I think I would get much, because I'm not a religious person. I don't think that they would let me go, and I never really thought there was another reason that they would let me into the country until Perry got the job. And then I was like, wow, I'm actually going to get to go to Saudi Arabia. Of all the places in the world that I ever thought I would get to travel to, this was never, ever on my list of places. So yeah, being here now is really quite surreal, quite strange. I still haven't quite wrapped my head around that one. But yeah, it'll be, it's like I said, it's an interesting experience. I'm looking forward to seeing how this week pans out. Hopefully we'll be home by the weekend, but there is a chance that we might be stuck here over the weekend. We will see. Fingers crossed that won't happen. So to round off this week's episode, and it seems to be much shorter than my last few episodes, which I guess is probably a good thing, I have a couple of questions for you guys. So talking about Saudi Arabia and being here being quite a surreal experience for me, because I've never expected to be here. Where is the one place that you have visited or travelled to that you never thought you'd get to go and see? Where's the one place that you were like, you'd never even considered going there because you just never thought it would happen? Or what is the one thing that you've done that you never thought you'd get to do? Is there like an activity or a thing that you've done or something along those lines that you've actually had the opportunity to do that you never thought that you'd never really thought about doing before until the opportunity came? Does that make sense? I hope so. So let me know in the comment section, what is the one place that you visited or the thing that you have done that you never really thought you'd get to do? And let me know how it went. Did you enjoy it? Was it interesting? Did it spark an interest in something that you didn't know about? So let me know in the comment section on the Ravelry group. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. And thank you so much for joining me this week. If you have any questions or comments about the podcast, there is a questions and suggestions thread on the group. I realise I totally forgot to tell you where you can find me. You can find me on Ravelry as Mina86. I'm on Instagram as Mina Phillip. And the Ravelry group is Knitting Expat Podcast. The show notes are on the knittingexpat.wordpress.com blog. And you can find the Etsy shop at minamakes.etsy.com. And all of that will be linked down below in the description box on YouTube. And so thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope you have a lovely week ahead, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Take care. Bye.